Good evening, everyone. This is the Planning Commission meeting for Monday, July the 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. I call it to order. Mickey, would you do us the pleasure of an invocation, please?
Lord Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this beautiful day you've blessed us with. Let us never forget that we should serve you, Lord, in all things. Help guide us in everything that we do. And we pray a special prayer for Miss Spicer. She is welcomed in her 13th grandchild. And these things we pray through Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, if everybody would review the minutes in your package from July the 6th.
Did I not make a motion last time to let this schedule come out before we, or did I just say something? I must have just said something about letting staff put that schedule together before we really had a big discussion on it.
We did discuss it. I don't know
But I guess I didn't make a motion on anything. Okay, I've slept since then, so I don't know if I remember.
All right, any comments on the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, do we have any public commenters for non-agenda items? Mr. Tester, we don't have any public comments? Okay. Commission member comments? No commission member comments. How about staff comments?
Yes, sir, I have a couple of things. I presented to the Planning and Economic Development Committee on July the 7th, following our last Planning Commission meeting. And based on the discussion that we had at the last meeting, I asked for an additional meeting in November of that committee to give a little bit more time for review, et cetera, and so that we could still meet that January 19th deadline. And the schedule went to them for their approval before I submitted to the public, because they needed to confirm that they were okay with public information meetings and those things. So I had to get their approval. So that was submitted to them as well, along with the scope, and overall they approved all of that. So we're clear to move forward with what we have. So that's why I included all of that in the schedule that's in your packets up there includes that additional meeting on November 10th. And I also wanted to mention, at the last meeting, Mr. Haney made a motion about scheduling a meeting with ACOG in reference to priority investment zones. And I reached out to them, and Chip Bentley, who contacted me back, he's the deputy director of ACOG, and said that generally these aren't used for regulatory tools yet. He said they're more associated with future land use maps and discussions, and used as a tool to prioritize capital improvement plans. They said they were going to do some additional research for us. So at this point, they really said that it would not apply to where we are today. They said that the only counties, right now, Greenville County has it in their comp plan, and he said he thought Spartanburg County was working on it to add to their comp plan, but the priority investment zones are handled under the comp plan in reference to future land use. not so much under the, any ordinances. He sent me some, information in reference to how they apply to comp plans. It's some older information, but some of it is still valid. It's just not been used much. I think that clearly it's something that, you know, the commission was interested in, but what they said is they did not feel that it would apply to, ordinance rewrites. But they are still, they're still looking for additional information for us, and will get back with me when they have more. But if you would like me to, I can forward the information they did provide. It's about 185 pages, so I'll email that to y'all if that's okay. That gives kind of an overview of how it applies in the comp plan, et cetera. So I'll be glad to email that to you, tomorrow.
Okay, I'd like to see that. Does everybody want that email?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, agenda item, discussion regarding agendas for ordinance development workshops. Mrs. Hester, would you mind just going over the schedule? Maybe putting that up on the, slideshow, that way the public kind of has an idea of what we're doing
Yes, sir.
for transparency purposes.
Yes, sir.
And then we will, roll into discussing the development workshops. And I guess kind of comment on the format of these agenda items, like, for example, I think the ordinance development workshops are not open to the public, is that correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
However, the other meetings are, the workshops are, and I'll let you speak to all that, because you're the subject matter expert. I think that would give the public an idea of what we're trying to do here and what schedule we're on.
Okay, the schedule is now on the screen. I referenced that I, provided the scope of work to the, Planning and Economic Development Committee on July 7th. So I went over the scope with them as well as the schedule. And they kind of just asked some general questions and then wanted to clarify some things that we would be addressing. Then, of course, tonight's meeting is listed. The July 24th, we have 2 ordinance development workshops. Those are split up, and each of these workshops are distinct things that we will be addressing just because there's, you know, we have a lot to cover. Yes, sir.
And I think there's 8 total,
There's 8
and
total.
they're numbered.
Yes, sir.
First half of the day will be number 1, second half of the day will be number 2, et
Yes,
cetera,
sir.
right?
Each one is 3 hours long. And I did that in the hopes that, I understand that there are still quite a few people on commission that have, jobs outside of this, obviously. So if you could attend one or the other, the hope is we can have a variety of people involved, of commission members. This is also, we'll be reaching out to council. I provided them the schedule as well, but I'm gonna follow up to see if any of them will be attending any of these, just so that they'll be aware of what's happening. So that's on, the 24th. The first public information meeting will be July 29th at 2 p.m. That will just be a presentation to the public and then give them an opportunity to comment on changes that are gonna be made, what they would like to see in the community, things that they're concerned about, as far as the ordinance itself. It will be the same presentation on the 29th and the 30th. The 30th is at 6 p.m. And the reason behind the timing of that is some people would prefer to come out during the day versus at night, so we're given both time frames to allow for people to attend. And then this isn't mentioned on that, but there's also a form on the website that allows people to submit comments. And I will send that link to y'all tomorrow, just so you'll be aware of it if you want to pass it along to anybody else. It's just a great way, and that goes to a mailbox that's designated for that use, to be able to compile all that information. Then August the 3rd is our next regularly scheduled planning commission meeting, which will be ongoing discussion, but we will have had our first workshop at that point, so our first 2 workshops. So we'll have some drafted language that y'all will have before that meeting. So we can present that, so y'all will have something to discuss then. And then August the 4th, I will be providing a progress update to the Planning and Economic Development Committee. at 4:30 before the regular council meeting. Then August 12th will be our third and fourth, and I apologize, those aren't numbered, will be the third and fourth workshops. Again, the same general scenario, we have a schedule and we will work through those based on the agendas that I provided. They each are standalone so that we can cover all the topics required. Then August 18th, we have another Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting. I'll provide them with another update. Then August 26th will be our fifth and sixth ordinance development workshops. Again, following the same plan, we'll follow the agendas as provided and move forward with those. Then the Planning Commission meeting is September the 10th. So again, you will have additional drafted language to discuss at that meeting. So those will kind of compound on each other so that we can keep moving forward. And the 7th and 8th workshops will be on September 23rd. Those will be our last ones. And the idea is to finish up that final push to get us through to find the final drafting language, et cetera. So October the 5th would be the initial review of the fully drafted document. So it would be presented to commission as a whole, and then that, of course, would be provided to the public as well as backup material, so everybody would see it as a whole at one time. Then I will provide a progress update to the Planning and Economic Development Committee on October the 6th. Then on November the 2nd, that would be the discussion and final review of the full draft. So we're on a super tight timeline, I'm sure as y'all well know, for that meeting, so I imagine we'll plan to be here a while. But that would be the final review of the full draft, because the November 10th is the special meeting that was called of the Planning and Economic Development Committee for us to present the full draft to them. And so the idea is, the hope is that they will review and then be able to put that on the agenda for the council for them to review. That would give time for, because of the Christmas holidays, et cetera, their schedule is a little different, and then obviously with Thanksgiving thrown in there too, we're having to work within all of that.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to go ahead and add an October 19th meeting that we could cancel if need be, but on that October 5th where we're going to be looking at everything and trying to nail it down, and is this what we think we're going to do on this master plan? Sure be nice to know that we've already got a pencil in on the 19th if it's open for a second planning meeting.
Is that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, if the date's available, to go ahead and earmark that date of the 19th. We can always cancel it. We find that after the 5th that we're on track, but if we find out after the 5th that we've got a lot of information to cover, or the meeting's not going as fast as we thought, I'd like to have it penciled in.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
I will reach
No.
out to,
Planning and
The clerk.
Economic Development Committee.
yes, sir, I will reach out to the clerk and make sure that that date's available, and as soon as I know that, I'll go ahead and let y'all know, so we can add it to,
Thank you.
calendars, et cetera. for that. So, based on that, it would be, November the 10th is, we need to have everything complete to provide to them. That's the only way we'll be able to make that January 19th cutoff with, because of holidays, et cetera, them being able to schedule extra meetings, we're somewhat limited.
Thank you for all of the information. That was very good. I do have a question. As far as advertising this process in the newspaper, are we required to do that? Or could you look into that?
For the workshops,
Well, just for the process. I don't know whether it's the workshops or it's the public information meetings.
no, sir, I was told we were not, but I will confirm again with, legal counsel.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, I'll follow it.
All right. Anybody have any comments before we roll into the ordinance development workshop agendas discussion?
Is there any public comments?
Actually, yeah, are there any public comments on this process? Anybody sign up? Anybody want to speak? That being said, we're moving on. So we're gonna discuss ordinance development workshops agendas. Does everybody have these in your handouts? Start with workshop number 1. Staff, do you want to comment on this before we? Well, I'll tell you what, do I have a motion to approve the workshop agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so now we can get into discussion. Staff, would you like to, or Mrs. Hester, would you like to speak on these schedules before we discuss them? Or do you think written down what we're reading here is adequate for us to discuss?
Well, I will say that they are broken down in a way to try to, we have obviously a lot to cover in a short period of time. And, I feel it's grouped in a way that kind of works to keep us moving forward. Some of these things are cumulative, obviously. They build upon each other. Some of the information, that's why some of it's broken down in the order that it is. I do think that as we get to the end, you know, those last couple, we may end up having to regroup and adjust some of these agendas as we go through the process. Because it may be that certain areas that are on the agenda, well, we're clear on where that needs to be, so we don't need to spend as much time on those. But I think some of that we're not gonna know until we're actually working through. So I foresee the last couple perhaps requiring some adjustment, but we won't know that until we get more into the process, because that will be late in September. And I'm hoping we will have covered a lot, and we'll be, you know, discussing what we may have missed, et cetera, in that process. So I do foresee some potential changes.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question for staff.
Yes, sir.
The topic items, did that come from paragraphs in our ordinances? Did that come from needs that you see? Did that come from comprehensive plan? Did that come from areas of short?
It's a combination of all of it, based on the scope, and some of these things we need to, and it may be that we discuss them and it's that, yes, the framework we have works, we don't need to make any changes to it. Some of that is why it's there. It's not necessarily that every one of these topics need changing, but I do think we need to hit on them and make sure, yes, this works, we don't need to adjust the framework.
We check that box.
Check the box so that we know that that's accurate to move forward, because we do have to, some of these ordinances do build upon others. So that's why I want to make sure that when we're drafting these things, that for my purpose, I know that your direction on this area is this, that you appreciate what is already there and we don't need to make changes to it. That way, when we're drafting language, we know we're building on things that y'all have already approved.
It seems very comprehensive through that process, and it seems like if we can check all those boxes, that we have done our public duty as far as to the general public. But I wanted to make sure that we were pretty inclusive on that list and that we weren't missing something, and it sounds like that you've pulled it from a lot of different places.
Yes, sir. And I'm not gonna say that I may not have missed something, and that's one of those things that may come up as we're sitting and going through things, and that's why I was saying those last couple may require adjustment if we realize that there's an area, oh, we need to go back and hit this again, we need to clarify some things. So I do foresee that there may be some adjustment at the end that we may have to cover, but I do feel like it's a pretty comprehensive approach to the overall ordinance, as well as taking into account the comp plan and things that council has brought forth that they want to see addressed, that type of stuff, and things that have been mentioned in here as well.
Okay. Just to,
Can I ask a
go ahead.
Are you going to provide for us the, 26 and 32 that we've already gone through, the changes? Are we gonna have that form available
In those,
in the workshops?
yes, sir. Yes, sir, I will
So
make sure that
we
you have
can-
those.
We already know what we've talked about.
I will ask that, if I'll print everybody in the commission one, I will ask that you hold on to those, just because of the volume of printing that is required, and, the amount of paper that takes, but yes, sir, I'll be glad to print you copies of that.
Yeah,
So that you'll have
that's
them.
why I didn't print it out myself, sorry.
No, sir, no apologies necessary, but I'm happy to do that to make sure
Okay.
that I'll print enough so that every commission member has a full set, so that we know what we're working with.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Okay, I'd like to just speak, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. Speak to the ground rules for these workshops. So first of all, these are not open to the public. These are for us to establish working direction. There's gonna be no final legislative approvals, no votes held. No ordinance amendment will be adopted or finally approved during the workshops. It'll just be frank discussions
Yes, sir.
about what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go. And the goal is to have at least 2, but not more than 3, planning commissioners. There will be no quorums in any of the workshops.
Yes, sir.
We're not gonna specifically assign individuals, because if, there's some state precedent or law about that, and we're not supposed to do that. So we're gonna ask for, people to show up as best you can. We'd like to have, let's say, at least 2, not more than 3.
Are we gonna decide that tonight? Who can show up at some of these? Or are we just gonna?
I mean,
hope
like,
for the
I know
best?
I can show up on the 24th, because I've kind of earmarked it, but as far as future dates, I don't necessarily know at this point.
Right, and I think if we just agree on who can show up for the next 1 or 2, I think that's good enough, and then maybe, because I think the workshops fall outside of our meetings, right? I mean, we've got
Yes, sir.
we got this meeting, and then we got a workshop, and then we'll have another commission meeting before we have another workshop. So, and there's commission meetings between each set of workshops. So I think if we can decide who's gonna make the 24th one, I think we can leave it at that as far as attendance. We'd also like to have, if possible, a couple of councilmen.
I have submitted that. I will reiterate that statement, and based on our discussion tonight, I will reach out to them again and say that at the request of the commission. that if
Obviously, for
possible,
them, a quorum is 3, so
it would be
quorum
limited
for us
to,
is 4.
yes, sir, it would be limited to 2 on those.
Right.
And then it would depend on which 2 because of their subcommittees, et cetera. So I know that could be difficult to
Right.
work out, but I will mention that to them specifically, that, at the planning commission is requesting their attendance if possible.
So, I'll just say, this is a complicated process.
Yes, sir.
It's on a short timeline. We're limited in people, a large scope, and there are lots of rules and protocols that we have to follow. So we just need to be careful how we navigate the landscape. And we got a lot of people watching too, so
Yes, sir.
there's a lot of people that have, that are stakeholders.
Correct.
So I can come to the Friday one, the 24th one, so I don't know who else wants to
I
come.
can come all day or one or the other.
Okay.
I can come for all day.
I think Mickey works. Joe, you're welcome to come morning or afternoon if you'd like. And Teresa's out for 2 weeks, as Mickey said. She's welcoming her 13th grandchild, so, she's got her priorities straight. So I don't think she's in the state right now, but,
So
she'll be
we've got-
back in August.
4 people there, what is our max number?
Our max number of planning commissioners is 3, so if we end up with 4 people there, we're going to have to run somebody off, and they'll have to come back. We'll have
I
to
will
bring
not
them
be
to come
able
back.
to attend on Friday.
You
Friday's
can't?
not good for
Okay.
me. Yeah, I'm out of
So I
town.
think between us 3, we can probably cover what we need to.
Okay. And we're doing all day then?
And I don't know about Jake, he may be interested in coming to 1 or 2 of the sessions. I haven't talked to him, but
So August the 12th
if,
is the next one.
Mrs. Hester, if you could take an action item to reach out to Mr. Marcingill,
I will.
see if he's interested. Mickey?
Yes, sir.
August the 12th is the next.
No, July the 24th is the next one. It's this Friday.
The next one after that.
After that?
Yes,
3 and 4 will
August,
be August 12th.
August 12th. That's correct, sir.
Okay, I can send that one.
Okay. And we'll talk about that one next meeting, but it sounds like you're good on that one. That's a Wednesday one, right? Is that the Wednesday one?
I don't have a calendar in front
I
of me.
think the 12th is. Anyway,
12th is a Wednesday.
so any further discussion on attendance? We'll get into let me ask this question. Are you guys amenable to, looking through this package and approving it all as one package? Or do you want to go through it, workshop by workshop?
I think it'll behoove us to go ahead and just approve the whole package, so we got a goal to work towards. I'll make a motion to
Approve the whole
the
package?
package as
Review and
is.
approve the whole package?
Yes.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion on that? We'll take a few minutes to look through the package, and then we'll have a discussion. Now, even though the workshops are not open to the public, there's no reason that the people here tonight shouldn't be able to view the agendas for the workshop. Is that
No,
correct?
so the agendas were posted as backup material online.
Okay, so do you guys look through them? Okay, so, if you guys have any comments, we can make a motion to bring you up here if you think something's missing. We appreciate your help. Looks pretty comprehensive to me so far.
It looks very, very detailed. I like it.
The intent is allow you as commission members to be prepared when you walk in to know what we're gonna be talking about, so to help expedite the process in the meeting.
Of these workshops, it looks like everything is in here, but was there something that you went, gosh, I wish I could put it in, but I can't figure out where to put it?
At this moment, no, and I'll be honest, just trying to compile and cover everything, this is why, y'all looking over it again behind me is beneficial, just because you're used to working within that ordinance and have reviewed so much of it. Like I said, I do feel like once we are in a meeting, something's gonna go, oh, wait a minute, what about this? And that's why we may have to amend some of those later agendas if we run across some things that have been overlooked. I do feel like I've tried to be very comprehensive in what was included, but inevitably, there's gonna be that one thing that's gonna strike us in a meeting. Somebody's gonna say, well, what about this? And we may have to add that accordingly.
Mr. Chairman, once we approve or go through or adjust this current motion that's on the floor, I would like us to go back through and talk about the structure of that meeting again. You had mentioned that there's no votes and things like that, but I'd like to talk about that one more time so that we're consistent throughout the meetings.
All right, I'm gonna open the floor for discussion. I have a couple of items already. Workshop number 4. Recreational vehicle parks and manufactured home parks. I know we talked about whether or not we needed to address these within the scope of our review because of the limited time that we have. Did we already decide whether or not we were interested in doing that, or is that something we want to leave on here?
I thought we had voted to pull that out.
I added it, and I will explain why. We've got a major issue with manufactured home parks, and technically, they fall under major subdivisions in the way that it is defined, because it is 11 dwelling units. 11 dwelling units. Manufactured homes fall into dwelling units. And some of our RV parks do as well, which y'all had already, there's some RV park stuff that's already there, so it may be that we hit that and say, yep, that's perfect. We don't need to make any changes to it, because y'all have already reviewed that. To my knowledge, some changes had already been made but have not been approved.
I mean, we just created an ordinance for RV parks about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, sir, but I believe there was some changes that y'all had approved for that have not been,
recall those, but that don't mean
It
that.
was in some of the stuff that, I have reviewed just recently that was, info that I had chased down. And, but the manufactured home park, it falls under a major development because of the number of units typically required. And right now, there is no ordinance for a manufactured home park. We've got to address that. Because the ordinance refers to one, and there is not one. So there's nothing there. But it qualifies under a major development typically, because most of them are 12 or more. And
So, my question is, if we're treating them as dwelling units, if they're defined as a dwelling unit, then would they not fall in the same parameters as the definition within the ordinance as dwelling units, as far as 10 or less is minor, 11 or more is major?
But then we have to decide, are they gonna have to meet the same, how does density apply to that? Are we gonna allow, there's a lot of factors that come up with a manufactured home park that we are not addressing currently. And that's why we need to cover that.
And I think there's some special exceptions to manufactured home parks at the state level that we may need to look into before we can make a decision on that.
And I'm happy to have those and provide them, but I do believe that it is very necessary because I had 4 phone calls today about manufactured home parks.
Yeah.
So this is a pressing issue, and I had to deny one because technically it falls under the moratorium, so I couldn't even take the paperwork on it because it falls under that because of the number of dwelling units. So I feel like if we're dealing with those, this is a pressing issue that needs to be addressed. And,
I'm not denying that it needs to be addressed. I'm just thinking that we're not familiar with the state law around manufacturing homes and how they are to be treated within the county ordinance. And we're on a very strict timeline right now. It may behoove us to put that off until January after this is done, so we don't burden the process down. It's, 'cause we need to do a lot of digging just in this outline without the RVs or manufactured home parks thrown into the mix. So I make a motion to remove those 2 items from this workshop.
Do I have a second?
I got a question.
Joe?
Or you said you got 4 phone calls
today,
today, and you said it's a pressing issue.
yes, sir.
Can you define or maybe enlighten us on what makes it pressing before we vote to strike it?
Because right now, I have an ordinance that says refer to the manufactured home park standards that you have to meet for those parks. They don't exist. There's nothing in our ordinance. So we're sending them to nothing. So that's a problem. And then, right now, I'm getting asked, well, how many can I have per acre? What do we go by? Are we going by like we would just a traditional single family? Typically, manufactured home parks are held to a different standard than your traditional single family residential development. So we need something in place because right now, if we're pointing to nothing. We don't have anything to support it. And the conversation that was had previously was that, the council thought it was there. And I think at some point way back when, maybe it was supposed to have been done, or I'm not sure. But that is previously, but I have people calling saying, I wanna do a manufactured home park. What standard do we need to meet? And what is the requirements for septic and those kinds of things? Because I understand septic goes through DES, but do we want separate ones for each one? Will we allow communities? How far apart do they have to be? How do we handle setbacks? Those types of things. All of that comes in. Driveway issues, how is that handled in a RV park? Manufactured home park? Do we consider them drives? Do we consider them new roads? All of these come into play because we don't have a standard to apply to it. Now, if we want to say they have to meet the same thing as other single-family developments, then we can do that. We need some clear direction because right now there is none.
Mr. Chairman,
Can I make a motion that we have public speak briefly, and then we'll continue our discussion? You want to finish your thought? then?
Let me finish my thought, because I will
All right, sorry.
forget it. So this does segue into what I want to talk about in a minute, where you talked about, so we have a standard for each one of the workshops, and that you had mentioned no votes and things like that take place during a workshop. But it may behoove us to say, hey, if there are things like this that need holding places, that we can have full-blown discussions. I don't know that manufactured homes currently falls under the purview of this, why we have a moratorium, at least under what I was thinking the moratorium was held for. But this clearly is a topic that while we're in these workshops, we should potentially be looking at holding places, that these, maybe a series of 5 meetings in and of themselves that we can do for the future. Is that something that's going to be possible? So we can talk about that in a moment, but this is why I think that we need to have, what are we going to do if this comes up, kind of scenario throughout our meetings? How do we handle that? So,
I don't have an answer for you, but I hear your question.
so now, if you want to make a motion to,
Mr. Markovich would like to speak on the matter of what we just discussed, so I make a motion that we bring him up and let him speak.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
One up, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it. For the record, I am Tom Markovich. You will find that mobile homes are a protected class of dwelling under the HUD requirements from the feds. They've been a protected class for quite some time now, and they have to be treated as such. And you can't apply the regular rules. And then you get into a whole other thing too, in terms of the concept of a subdivision. Is the subdivision being created for the rental of lots or for the ownership of lots? And it becomes a whole different thing. And then especially when it comes to septic tanks and how that's treated, because some of you may know, we already have a number of different mobile home subdivisions that are near the lake that have been used as vacation properties for a very long time. They'd all be grandfathered in anyway. But nonetheless, mobile homes are a protected class. It's a whole separate thing. And you're gonna need direction from HUD, because there have been quite a few lawsuits on the federal level when special things go in for mobile homes and whatnot. So I'd go to HUD and get that, and they probably have a representative at the state through, in fact, I know they do. So anyway,
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to make a comment on that. A lot of that HUD applies on the building side of things, so we wouldn't be restricting anything there. Obviously, we would need to address that, but that's not what I'm looking for direction on. It's more of the traditional side of, is there a density requirement, those types of things. Just like we do with an RV park, because those are a whole different class of, they're built to different standards, and so we have to follow those rules for that. This would be more on how we address it from the land use side of things. How do y'all see that moving forward? Because, in a traditional manufactured home park, they're a lot more dense than your average development is. They're very small yards, they're fairly close together, those types of things. Just what do we see moving forward so that we can address that? Because, obviously, the ones that are there, those would be grandfathered. I'm talking about stuff that's new, and how do we want to address those?
All right, so
Just
Mickey,
3 of the calls today were new ones.
Mickey has a motion on the floor that has not been seconded. Do I have a second? No second.
Yes, it does.
So I guess we will leave it on the schedule. See what happens when we get there. Sure there'll be some fireworks.
So that goes then to my conversation of, can we outline what our options are when we are in the workshop as to, if we clearly aren't going to vote because we don't have quorums to do so, but we need to say, hey, this is an unresolved topic, or this is a topic that's gonna need to be discussed in a more robust setting, at some future point. Or this topic, yes, we see some gaps, but it's outside of the purview of why we're in this workshop to begin with, from a moratorium standpoint. We need some rules as to what our options are to say, hey, this needs to be a future agenda in 2027, or whatever it might be. In my opinion.
I'm not quite sure I have a vision of what you're trying to
Well,
suggest.
for the mobile home park thing,
Take
for
the
example,
RV or the
the
mobile home, manufactured home
recreation or
parks.
mobile home, I seem to remember us having an ordinance in place for recreational vehicles, and we talked about it for some time. Staff is clearly saying that there are some gaps in that. I think it should be there in that workshop so that the people in the workshop and staff can go, here's where the gaps are, and they're easy enough to fill. But at the same time, staff may go, here's where the gaps are, and whoever's in the workshop go, that's gonna be a bigger discussion than what we're gonna be able to accomplish here. And there needs to be a mechanism where we can say, this needs to get earmarked as a holding place that we're gonna have to come back to, because there is a gap, but it's not something that can be dealt with in this vote for November or January or whatever.
So that's what I'm fearful of, is we're introducing things we've not even broached the subject of into part of our workshop and expecting it to be resolved in what's the time frame on that?
January 19th.
No, the time allotted for it.
30 minutes.
30, expecting it to be resolved in 30 minutes. That's just not gonna happen. It's not realistic. I think we need to be realistic with ourselves, and just the discussion we had here in this meeting shows the need for more information so that we're all abreast of everything that's going on.
So I don't think it should be eliminated from the topic, but I do think that we need an option in that meeting to say, this is a worthy topic for future discussion.
Well, I'm not saying it's not worthy. I'm just saying.
So the way the workshop works is we talk about it, we throw it back and forth, and we may decide, nah, we're probably not gonna address that. Well, if we don't, then they don't write any rules for it. Because what they're gonna do is they're gonna use this workshop, our discussion, as a tool to go draft ordinance changes. And that's gonna be their product out of this workshop. And then we're gonna discuss it in actual meeting. And there's gonna be a discussion in the public meeting, then there's gonna be discussion in the planning commission meeting. We may vote and say, no, we don't wanna do anything with RV parks. I think that's where it happens, but I think the workshop is just a working, frank discussion session between us. Yeah, there may not be enough time, but it's a tool for them to go do their work and give us something to vote on.
So our options then are gonna be, we think it's good like it is, or we don't think it's good like it is.
We can say in 30 minutes, we don't want to do RV parks.
Okay,
And then they're done.
okay.
And it kicks to it kicks to outside the scope of this project. If we discuss that in the workshop and that's what we conclude, there's no vote on it, but there doesn't necessarily have to be.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. So when we was developing the scope, I think it was 2 meetings ago, we voted to remove RV parks out of this. due to
I think we
discussion.
did.
We
I do
did.
So
think
my
we did.
question is, why is it back in the scope if we were voted to remove it?
Good question. That's the reason I brought it up.
I will answer that. That scope also allows for, the planning director to add things that are necessary, that I feel is necessary. That was allowed under that scope. And council gave direction that those things could be addressed in this.
I'm not looking overridden.
Sound like it?
That's
I'm
okay.
not saying, I agree with what Mr. Johnson said, though, that it may not be, and what Mr. Haney said, it may not be addressed in 30 minutes. But then y'all can give direction so that we know how we need to address it moving forward. Because right now, I don't have any direction.
It may end up on the agenda in a February meeting.
It may exactly, and that may be exactly what we need from y'all, because then that gives me direction to know
We'll
how
have
to
plenty
move
to do
forward.
next year too, so
So,
Mickey's chairman.
Some of this is gonna be, that I need additional, direction from y'all, and this gives me the opportunity to get that, and I'm not gonna get it otherwise. And so, that's what some of this is about. Do we think it's all gonna get resolved in those snippets of time? No, I don't. But I do need direction to know how to draft or what to draft.
Right, and I think our frank discussion and, you know, debates back and forth during the workshop that's what it's for, is for you to write all that down, record it, whatever you need to do, and then go, whatever you need to do, I don't, write it all down and go,
I get your
Good.
intent,
or,
and
yeah,
otherwise,
or however you do that.
y'all having the
Go
discussion.
rewrite the rules.
Yes, sir. Your discussions and going back and forth, then I can figure out what your intent is, because that comes out in those discussions. And
Yeah,
then
and
the
if-
ordinance will be drafted accordingly.
If for whatever reason, we don't like what we said, and you don't write, and you write down what we said, and we take it to a vote, and we don't like it, we
You
can
have to
change our
redo it.
minds.
We have
That's
to
gonna
redo it.
throw the scope off, and I think that's what, or the schedule off, I think that's what, one of Mike's concerns, but it's just something that you have to deal with in reality in project management, so. Things change, opinions change.
I think it is.
But I think overall, you got a good product here. I think it's a framework we can work with, on a schedule that we can work with. Any other discussion on the workshop agendas?
I think she did a great job, and I think it's flexible enough that we can work with it. I think she did a really good job on this, and I appreciate the work.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna call for the question. Unless somebody else has more discussion. All in favor of the ordinance workshop agendas as written, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Favor?
Ours was still.